Good morning to this cold Friday middle school career chat. We have the great honor of having Bev Berns from the AEA. Bev, I am going to have you introduce yourself, let the students know a little bit about what you do, and then we'll dive into some of the fun questions we have in store for today.
Hey, that sounds good, Holly. So my name is Bev Berns and I work for Keystone AEA. We are a regional support for a lot of the different schools in Northeast Iowa. We partner with NICC quite a bit. And in this situation, my job specifically is to help out STEM and post-secondary readiness. So understanding what your career could be and some different opportunities for that, as well as some of the different STEM things, like we have robotics, I've got mechanoid in the background. So STEM, robotics, engineering, those types of things. So I have a variety of things that we do.
That sounds fun. Yeah, the guy in the back, what did you say his name is?
This is Mechano. He's one of our, if you talk to him a little bit, he's not charged today, and I apologize, we don't have power today. So it's a little chilly, but technically what you do is you start talking to him. He's kind of an AI type of situation where you can start talking to him and he'll start moving and doing dances and things like that based on the programming that you have for him. So pretty fun.
Pretty fun. Yes, for sure. So we're going to just jump into the career chat. There are kind of questions that they have. And the first one is, in the workforce, employability skills are important. How you interact and get along with others. Can you list some soft skills that you think are important for the team and how it's beneficial for you at your job?
Sure. So part of what I do is called the STEAM team, science, technology, engineering, and math. And communication, above all, is the one thing that we need to be able to do. So that I know if I'm coming in from an animation and gaming or an engineering type of thing, what's the rest of my team, whether they're math, science, computer science, those types of things, so that we're all on the same page, but we're still working on different projects. So project management is the other thing that we do, that collaboration piece, some of the things that we'll do together, but it's really about enhancing and supporting each other. You know, what do we do well and what can we maybe learn from each other too? So that's kind of another thing too, as we're talking about soft skills. How do you mentor each other? I don't know if that counts, Holly, but, you know, we're always kind of learning from each other because, you know, if you're not learning, you know, we're doing something else, right? So you got to keep learning. So I would say collaboration, communication, top two, I'm going with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another one I just want to say, you mentioned you have no power, but you're still the expectation that you're still here. You have to adapt and adjust, and you may be cold, but you're putting on a smiling face for everyone this morning.
That's right. It's a bright sunny day. Thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
So you'll never know.
What education and or training is required for your profession?
Yeah, so I have to say mine has been kind of a windy road to getting to STEM. So I actually started out as a high school English teacher. So in high school, I was really interested in speech, drama. I was very big into journalism, publications, types of things. And when I went to college, I got a degree in English language arts, but my hobbies were very much in life science, so especially plant science. And so kind of went down both tracks and then graduated with a degree in English language arts, and communications and publications. So I could do journalism, yearbook, speech, drama, those types of things. And you're like, well, what does that have anything to do with STEM? Well, from the literacy standpoint, we're all storytellers. So think about the games that you watch, think about the movies that you watch. And so part of my classes were to create movies. They were to create animations. At the time, it was called VREP, so virtual reality. How could we bring those to life in a 3D space? And so that kind of moved me down the road of technology. I came over to Keystone AEA, which was where I'm at now. Started as a tech integrationist, moved into STEM specialist, as well as, like you said, post-secondary readiness, because the careers that we do and then the different technologies that we have really play a key part in that. And so, you know, there's a lot of different entries into STEM. Mine happened to be through language arts and speaking and listening. So kind of an interesting piece there. Like I said, long and winding road to get to this, but now I support science, STEM, and post-secondary readiness. So very different than literature and writing that I had done in the past.
Absolutely. But that's a key thing for students to know, is that your path is ever changing. Just because you go down one faucet doesn't mean that you can't divert and go another direction, that it'll all bend together eventually.
So true. So true.
Yeah. So could you describe the working environment for this profession?
Yeah. Well, I think you kind of noticed
Minus
that,
today.
right. It's so much it's full of variety. There is never a day that is the same. And for my work environment, as you could tell, where I started, for example, with language arts literacy, it's built the foundation, but I have the opportunity to grow in things that are interesting to me. So that's where STEM comes in. That's where a lot of the different sciences, helping elementary and middle school and understanding not only the robotics, but how does energy transfer within those different systems and things. So it's always based in curiosity. That's what I love about my environment and my space. I drive a lot, I travel a lot. I'm in a lot of the different buildings. So I work with students, I work with teachers, and also provide professional development for teachers. So some of the things that I learn, I get to teach your teachers how to do so they can bring that back to the classroom.
Yeah, awesome. Bev, I did have a question. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what Keystone AEA really is, what it stands for, and how it impacts students in their communities?
You bet. So Keystone Area Education Agency, and you might be familiar with, I'll just bring my iPads over, seeing these boxes in your classroom. So Keystone it's called, anyway, it's an educational support system. And we provide a lot of different things from school improvement, which is where I'm at, which is for gen ed folks. But then we also provide services for special ed. So those kind of go into speech and language pathologists, school psychologists, audiologists to help students who maybe have hearing loss. We have assistive technology, some of the different transition things for students who have maybe significant needs, or in my case, for students who are going on to post-secondary, whether that's into the workforce or into the careers. We also do, like I said, the professional development for teachers. So that can be everything from STEM, as we've been talking about, to curriculum adoption. So the things that you learn in the classroom, we really help teachers understand what's going to be the most interesting thing to do. How does it align with this thing called the Iowa Core, which all of us are teaching? And then what are some really fun practices that we can embed in that? So Keystone is really just a support for all of our districts. And a lot of us have different roles, just depending on how you interact with us. So does that help?
Yeah, that was a great picture painted.
That was a lot. I know there's so many things that go along with it. And I missed out on our media collection too, so that you can check out books, robots, all the things. We're kind of like a free library with all of the educational things that a teacher or students might need.
Awesome. I think this next question ties really good into that. So you're talking about kind of your profession with the AEA. What other roles or jobs are within the AEA? If you could list like 3 or 4, maybe non-traditional or jobs that students don't really think of, but actually is a resource from Keystone AEA.
Yeah, the first one I'll think about is instructional technology. Our IT folks, they're the ones who keeps our computers running. They keep our Wi-Fi running, and they actually support all of the different buildings through, making sure connectivity is happening, making sure that our computers are up and running and functioning, those types of things. So we have an IT department. Some of the different things, like even our media clerks, they're the ones that pull the boxes for us, make sure that everybody gets their orders, and we send them on the Keystone vans. Of course, we have administrators, we have school improvement. So people who have an area of focus and what they do, for example, science and math, you'll meet maybe a couple of those later today, those consultants. But those are just kind of a variety of the things that we have.
Awesome. Thank you. These are always my favorite questions to ask. They're kind of a little twofold. If you want to talk about what's your favorite thing about your career, and then we'll follow it up with what's something you dislike about your career.
Yeah. So Holly, I get to play with robots during all day and circuitry, and I get to talk to wonderful people and collaborate with NICC as well as a lot of our regional partners. So I think the best part of my job is just the people that I work with, but also the type of work that you do. So the best thing is, if I have an opportunity to do something, or if I have a dream of, hey, I think this is really going to be beneficial, it's connected to what I do, we are always open to learn some different things and to be innovative in what we do. On the flip side of that, though, because, you're kind of talking about what do you dislike, sometimes the good things are the bad things, right? So always problem solving, always trying to do innovative things. And a lot of times when questions come in, it's really supporting teachers or districts and we have a stumper, please help us figure this out based on what regional supports. I also do some statewide work. So that's kind of, it's not a bad thing, but it's really one of those critical things where you're like, oh my goodness, what can we do? So you have to bring people together to problem solve to do that. And it takes a little more time, but it's always well worth it, right?
Right.
So that's kind of the positive and negative. I don't know.
That summarized it good. I think with everything, you're going to have the pros and the cons, and you just have to figure out how to navigate it together and keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
And again, everyone, I just want to reiterate, if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat so we can keep asking Bev any questions that you have, but I'm going to continue working through the sheet. So another one, this is a really important one that I think that sometimes gets overlooked, is that students right now can start beginning for their future. Are there some classes that they could take right now as they progress up into high school that would be helpful for them?
Yeah. So anytime you're going into education, making sure that you're paying attention to the core courses, because those are going to ground you. But then also, what are you doing for early childhood? If you're interested in education itself, there are some different CTE courses that you can take too, or NICC courses that connect in with early childhood specifically, I believe. And so, but also being involved is also kind of a key. If you've ever noticed, communication, those speech types of things, the working as a team, robotics leagues, whatever that might be, those are some of the things that you could really engage with and then get others involved with too. As we talked about, like communication and collaboration are definitely key. For me, it was some of my CTE courses. So kind of that breadth and depth. My dad always wanted me to take industrial tech types of courses and automotive, just because it was a nice balance for what he was interested, what I was interested. And then it just kind of rounded about some of the academics. So take a lot of the different courses that you feel you might be interested in, I guess is the comment there, because education is so broad. So you could be, for example, I started as an English teacher and I've kind of gone down the realm of science, STEM, and post-secondary readiness. But you know what? I know other educators who are family and consumer science who teach home ec types of classes, as we used to call them. Yeah. So just kind of, what is your interest? What is your passion? And then do you want to share that information with students? And how can you do that? It's kind of the route to education.
I love it. What's your interest and what's your passion? That's a good one. We have a question. Are there a lot of job openings in this field? Is it difficult to get a job with AEA?
So with the AEA, you typically would start out as an educator in the classroom, or if you start in on school psychologist, there are some specific degrees that you need to have in order to do that. So everybody at the AEA has a master's or above. So when you go to college, you get your 4-year degree, you'll teach for a while. You'll also go again for another 2 years to really specialize in an area. So is it difficult? Is it difficult to get a job at the AEA? It depends on openings, of course, and the skills that you do have. I know right now we're looking for 2 school improvement consultants, so those are more generalized, kind of like me, but then they're also looking for work experience coordinators, people who can be on site with students, kind of like what Holly does, in a job, transition folks, those types of things. So it really varies. So depending on the credentials that you have, depends on if the job is open or not.
Awesome. A perk of being a teacher, you get summers off. When you work for AEA, do you get summers off as well?
Well, that's always the trick. A lot of times teachers are always learning. And so we always are taking classes in the summer. So I don't know if we have them off, but I typically teach lots of classes during the summer so that teachers have the time to really dig in and invest those types of things. So yes to the summers off, but we're still learning and teaching at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. I guess I always see it as your schedule's a little more flexible in the summer. How about that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. I have a question. You talked kind of about like a robotic league or stuff
Yeah.
like that for students to get involved. Is that stuff that the AEA puts on, or how do students know about these different opportunities for them to kind of get out and start exploring?
Yeah, so a lot of your different buildings have a robotics league. They have some STEM teams. They have after school programs that have robotics and coding that are in them. So just kind of paying attention to that. So most times we didn't do it this year just due to the pandemic, but we have STEAM days that are both in Dubuque and in Elkader, where we bring students together, especially in middle school, where they complete some challenges. They utilize all of the different STEM things that they have. And then look out for NICC also has STEAM camps throughout the summer. Those should be coming out. I know we have a couple coming into Wakan pretty soon. So just there's lots of different opportunities. 4-H also has them. So it's not just Keystone, but Keystone is a great partner with all of the different people that I talked about. So it is a lot about just those partnerships that we have, and then how can we bring STEAM to you? And if your teachers are interested in bringing STEAM to you, that's exactly what we do too. We partner in classrooms too. So lots of different
Awesome.
ways for robotics.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you shared a lot of fabulous information for our students. We appreciate you, Bev, from Keystone AEA, sharing your knowledge and helping to better educate these students. If it looks like the classes, their periods are over and they're having to continue on with the next day. But again, Bev, I want to thank you for your time today.
All right. Thanks, Holly.